Okay, the number one ingredient in wheatgrass is wheat. And the most important aspect of the wheat is that it's fresh. Now, I'm sure if you go in and get a packet of wheat from a shop, it's going to be fresh enough. That'll be fine. But if you've had it in the cupboard for a couple of years, you'll probably get a less than 50% germination rate. So get yourself some new wheat or barley or whatever grain it is that you're sprouting. We only use organic because that's what we're about. This one is organic and biodynamic, and it's called milling wheat. But as I said, it just needs to be wheat or barley or whatever it is you're using. So I use a cupful because that's what spreads really well on a tray, is 1 cup. Now I use a plastic bowl and a sieve that fits inside the bowl, which makes it a lot easier. Make sure it's a plastic based sieve and not a metal one, because it will rust and put rust through the grain. So take it over to the tap. We fill the bowl up almost to the top. Tip the wheat in, give it a bit of a swish around just to get water over all the grain so there's no air pockets, and we let that soak for a day or overnight, and it'll take up all the water it needs to take, and we'll have a look at this tomorrow once it's had a soak. Okay, here's our wheat. Now you've been soaking it for a day or overnight, and it's pretty well taken up all the water it's going to take up. So we empty the water out, we place it back in the bowl. Now this is going to take about 2 days for the little shoots and the little roots to appear, and we'll show you what that looks like, because when that happens, that means it's time to plant. So for now, we're just going to keep it covered, and we keep it covered for 2 reasons. One, because the grains sprout better in the dark, and 2, because it helps to stop the moisture loss so that the top layer doesn't dry out. And each morning, or a couple of times a day if you like, you take the cover off, just run it under the tap. It only needs to be done once a day, unless it's really warm. But you can do it as many times as you like. Cover it back up, and when the little shoots start, we'll show you what that looks like. Okay, this is the medium that we use. This is coconut core peat, which is 100% coconut fibre, the outside husk, which is ground down into a peat-like substance. It doesn't have any peat moss in it. It's only called that because it resembles that. So it's 100% the exterior husk of the coconut ground down into a medium. And be careful when you buy it though that yours doesn't contain, and make sure you read the packet, that it doesn't already contain a fertilizer. This one doesn't, but if it does, it'll be a synthetic fertilizer, and of course that's fine if you're not being organic, but if you're being organic, you don't want chemical synthetic fertilizers in your food. So what happens is we take 1 brick, one of these. It says use 4.5 litres of water, so I've already got 3 in there. Now I'll show you how we get away with, or get around the fertilizer. Is we put in an organic fertilizer ourselves. This one's a sea salt, and it is certified organic. Make sure that it is certified organic. And we put in the recommended dose, mix it in, make sure whichever fertilizer you're using that you carefully read your instructions. Okay, and then we drop the brick in, and in the morning that will have expanded, and we'll give you a look at it then. Okay, the next morning, here it is. Now this doesn't actually need to soak overnight, just needs a few hours, but I prefer to do it overnight. and you get this beautiful fluffy medium. This is about 9 litres, and you know, at about $1.80 or $1.90 a block, it's very good value. Get a lot of trays out of that. Okay, so about 3 days keeping this covered, just giving it a rinse every morning to keep it damp. We start to get little shoots and little roots on there. So little tails and little shoots are starting to appear, and that means that that's ready to plant. So this is our coconut core peat that we soaked, and this is just a standard seedling tray. Now you can get these at any nursery, and this is a seedling tray base. You don't have to use that, you can just use the tray, but the medium, this core coconut peat, dries out very quickly. So I use a base tray so that when you fill that with water and pop this in, the medium takes up the moisture like a self-watering pot, so it remains moist for a lot longer. So when we put the medium in, we're basically putting it in only about half an inch, 1 or 2 centimetres, just roughly, just putting it over the top like that. There's no rocket science to it. And then we just tip the wheat over the top and even that out as much as possible. Like so. Just push it around, give it an even coating. You don't have to be 100% precise. And that's it. So that's how we plant it. I have a little board that I've made up that just packs it down a little bit. Not too hard. And there we go. So lastly, we just need to give it a good soak. Now you can do that 2 ways. You can run it under the tap, but that tends to dislodge. With the force of the water, tends to dislodge all of this very light medium. So another reason for using a second tray is that you just put water in the tray, and I only fill it up to about probably just under half. So a little bit less than half full. And then you just place that back in there gently, and then you'll see all the water come up in between the grain and soak all of the coconut peat. And that only needs to be done for about 20 or 30 seconds. Take it out, tip the water out, pop it back in the tray. Now that is enough of a soaking to last it for the 2 or 3 days that it needs to sprout in the dark. It won't need another water until you take it out again for the next stage. So we'll have a look at that in a couple of days. There we go, 3 days in the dark, and it's sprouted up. It's looking pretty pale at the moment. No colour in it, but so would you be if you'd spent all your life inside. So we're going to take it outside and give it a day of light, and you see the massive difference it makes. It'll green up very, very quickly. Now a lot of people grow these in their kitchens, and there is fluorescent light that will green it up, but the best light of course is filtered sunlight coming through a window, or you can take it outside and give it some sunlight, only in the mornings though. Don't put it in the hot afternoon sun, because that will scald it and also dry it out far too fast. You won't be able to keep the water up to it. So we'll have a look at this in 24 hours after it's had some light, and we'll see how green it is. Wow, now that's what I'm talking about. A day and a half, 2 days, in the wonderful health-giving properties of sunshine. It's put on some height. Look how green it is. It's magnificent. It'll continue to grow rapidly now. We'll come back and have a look at this again in about 2 days' time. Well, there's 2 days later, growing beautifully, nice, lush and green. about 10 or 11 centimetres, about 4 inches tall. I'm going to take this opportunity to explain a couple of reasons. We get asked questions about why do I bother growing it on a medium at all? Because a lot of people just grow it on tissue paper or kitchen paper. Now, I do grow it on a medium for a couple of reasons. One of them is because the roots are embedded in that medium, and it makes it so much easier to keep the moisture level constant in the medium, because the medium takes up the moisture and it stays like that at a constant moisture for quite a while. If you don't grow it on any medium at all, just on paper, you run the risk of it drying out rapidly, and at some stages it's quite, on warm days, hard to keep the moisture up to it unless you're growing it in water itself, and then you're promoting mold, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But that's one reason, because the medium can be kept at a constant moisture with just a little bit of water in the tray, and it stays much more even and a lot easier to manage. The second reason is I can add a nutrient. My organic seaweed extract, certified organic seaweed extract, in a diluted form, goes into that medium when I soak the medium, and I grow it on that, because every tray of wheatgrass gets 2 flushes. When you finish with this, you cut it off completely at that level, at the tray level. You give it a bit more light and a bit more water, and you will get a second crop. Now, yes, you can still do that without growing it on a medium, but that second crop will be thinner, will be a bit more spindly, a bit more paler, because it's sadly lacking in nutrients. Now, this first crop comes from the nutrients that are in the grain itself. When you soak them, it activates, it releases all those nutrients, and that's what pushes this up into a beautiful green product without worrying about what it's sitting on as far as a medium grows. It's drawing all its nutrients from the seed itself. So that's true. But when you get a second crop, when it's trying to flush again, it's searching for nutrients in the medium that it's growing. Now, you will get that flush without the medium, as I said, but it will be weaker and it will be still searching for nutrients. So if it finds the nutrient enhanced medium with the organic fertilizer in it, it takes off again with a beautiful boost, and it comes back almost the same. If it's not grown on a medium, it is still searching for nutrients now, because it's depleted it in the seed, and you're growing it on white tissue or white kitchen paper, and they've been bleached in chemicals. Now, you would not put that paper, the tissue or the kitchen paper, soak it in a bowl in the morning, take it out, squeeze what's left of it into the water, and then drink the water, because it's toxic. And that's exactly what's happening when you're growing it on that sort of medium. When it gets its second flush, it is searching for nutrients so it can grow back healthy again, and it is taking that up. Now, mold. Now, mold spores come in on the wheat grain. What happens is it doesn't need to manifest itself at all. This doesn't have any, so I can't show you. But it will manifest itself for several reasons, and that can be because of the amount of light that it's given, the amount of warmth that it's given, but mainly because of the amount of water and the ventilation are the 2 main factors that will promote that mold growth. Is it a problem? No. It is unsightly, it doesn't look good, but wheatgrass mold will not hurt you. It is not toxic to humans. And most of the time, because it's grown, it grows itself on the wheat and just a little bit up the stem. You're cutting above that level anyway, so it isn't a problem. But even if there's a little bit gets on the wheatgrass and you juice it, don't be concerned. It's not toxic. Wheatgrass. That wasn't hard to do, was it? Cup of wheat, plastic tray, coconut fibre, 8 to 10 days, and you've got one of the most nutritious foods you can put into your body. Nature's living superfoods. Go on, give it a go.